What's up, people? I'm your boy Artwork Geo, and I'm doing this video as you see in the title. It's never too late to turn yourself around. It's never too late to make changes, and it's never too late to pursue that thing that you really care about. It's just never too late, and I think this is an important video for anybody that may have felt counted out through the years, based on just different experiences you might have had. And, society does want you to feel like it's too late, in a lot of different ways. You're supposed to fit this timeline that, if you really think about it, it doesn't exist. It's the timeline you create for yourself. And then even if, for some reason that don't hit the way that you originally planned for it to, it doesn't mean that it won't happen for you. And whatever that thing is, everybody has something different. But one of the worst things you can do is stop. I remember some years back, it was this image of a guy chipping away at this gold on the other side of this thin layer of rock. And you could see that he turned away right when he got this close. And then the other person you see compared to him kept going and he made it through. And I think that really represents life, quite a bit. If I was able to, I posted it on the screen just now so you was able to see that. But yeah, that's life, man. We have to understand that things don't always go that original way that we see it. But if you're able to adjust and make them necessary changes, you can still get there. And it might look a little different. You might have had to make some tweaks. It's a lot of different things in my life that, I had an original way of seeing it. And I realized as things move forward, part of it was me gaining wisdom and having a better understanding of what, I had going on. And so a lot of these changes and these adjustments you make, in the process, it doesn't always look good. Sometimes you have to make adjustments that may look crazy to other people. Some of the closest people to you might stop supporting you because they think you fell off or, oh, it's not the way that I pictured you moving with this particular thing. You must not, be worth my time and my energy to continue to pour into you. It could look all kind of ways. But as long as you understand what it is you're doing, and on a daily basis, just keep chipping away at that, it's never too late for you. You know what I mean? Like, I have a brand. It's called the Fresh Paint Company. With my brand, that's just what I consider the umbrella to my creativity. The Fresh Paint Company is something I created with the idea that, what I'm telling you now in this video, you never have an opportunity where you can't apply fresh paint to something. And fresh paint is just basically like what it would do, say, for anything. You take an old car, you put fresh paint on it, it rejuvenates it, it restores it, and it replenishes. That same car that might have been beat up, has some scratches, people judge it. They call it a bucket, they call it a hoopty, whatever you call cars that are ran down or whatever. But once upon a time, that car was brand new off the lot and everybody appreciated the value in it. But outside looking in, people tend to see it go through life and, get a few nicks and scratches and dents on it, get a few miles on it from people driving it. But it's still a reliable car with a good engine. And I feel like that's us. We still have potential, as human beings to always turn something around. Yeah, it's a little tougher when you got responsibilities. We end up having families and, some people get into relationships, have kids, get married. Part of the reason why when it's you as a younger person pursuing something, it's a little easier. And for some people, a whole lot easier because you don't really have that burden of knowing you have to show up for other people as much as you do, when you get older. So as a younger person, you can wake up starving artist metaphor, just that person that give it all to their craft and not necessarily being responsible with money and just still figuring it out. You get more grace. It's a lot of people who look at you and just, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. You in your figure it out years. And as you get older, they say as you hit 30, you're supposed to have it figured out and build on it. And then, you get in your 40s, you just supposed to be there already. It's no still trying to pursue something. And I'm the first person to tell you that that's not true. As you become somebody of age and you have life experiences, you could have been dealt cards that the next person wasn't dealt. So it made their hand a little easier to play. In your case, you didn't have them same cards. So you had to maneuver, finesse, and get yourself to where you got yourself. And as long as you can celebrate that, it doesn't matter if somebody else can't celebrate that. And that's the story of my life. It's a lot of things that I wish I was able to kind of see before I got to where I'm at. But at the same time, I'm grateful to have certain experiences that I didn't have as a younger person. So as a creative, I'm able to tell a message and a story that I wasn't able to tell, 10, 15 years ago, even 5 years ago. But again, having certain experiences and things, remind me of my path and strengthening me and making me a stronger person to be able to deal with whatever's in front of me. I've realized, man, I'm grateful for that. It's just a little more seasoning that a lot of people might not have. There's so many metaphors that I can use just to let everybody, all walks of life, get where I'm coming from. But you take food for example. You hear this a lot now, the microwave, and you hear with music. I just ran across some content just yesterday where they use this same metaphor, which I've heard before that, but it just reminded me, and I want to bring that to y'all. But it's basically the idea of microwave food versus like slow cooked, well thought out, fresh ingredients food. You know what I'm saying? Microwave food, probably frozen, probably not made with the best ingredients. Pop it in the microwave, you get a quick meal. But at the same time, if you eat something that's like the time that it takes to actually prepare it and it's processed with fresh ingredients, you can tell the difference. So even marinating something versus just throwing some seasoning on top of it, I feel like my seasoning has been marinated. I feel like I've had a lot of different experiences that have allowed me to marinate. And so it's about throwing it on the grill at this point. But at the same time, it's a difference from just slapping seasoning on something and then it marinating in it. If you ever see a recipe, the ones that calls for marinating, or even if they say, to get the best outcome, marinate it overnight or whatever the case is, same deal with life. You can pull a lot of life experiences from everyday things that we do. And, again, back to what I'm saying, when you hear me mention fresh paint, because it's all over me, I'm saying? It's on my hat. I got it on my shorts, my shirt, I'm saying? It's something I created, say Fresh Prince, or it's the Fresh Prince on it, but at the bottom, you see the Fresh logo. So I'm just fresh all the way around, man. I'm saying? Both ways, man. Fresh mindset. I feel like I'm fresh, and that's a word that we've heard for years, but the way that I'm taking it and I'm applying it to my point is my version of what that means. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us need that fresh coat of paint to be rejuvenated and to be reminded that we do have greatness in us and the tank ain't completely empty. You know what I'm saying? You might need to go in and fill up and get that fresh paint job and a quick little wash, and get yourself back right. But you always had that potential. So this is like the first video. And I know the way that I want to structure these overall, I do want to, just get better with it and build on these concepts. But I was spending a lot of time just worrying about my presentation and, making sure everything was tweaked the right way. And that's just not possible, even like scripting these videos and having all my points mapped out. And, it went from me word for word, wanting it to be right, to, realizing like, man, as long as I have like little points or whatever, but I know in my heart what I want to say to y'all. I know what message I want to come across with. The subject of this video is you can always turn it around. I don't know exactly how I'm going to title it. Of course, I want to title it in a way to get people to click and watch the video. But I encourage comments. It's important that we get comments going. People like, comment, subscribe. That all gets the algorithm to realize what kind of content this is. But yeah, it's slipping, man. Let me slow down. It's Painted Fresh Daily, which represents my brand, the Fresh Paint Company. But the whole idea of Painted Fresh Daily are just daily things that you can do throughout your day, throughout your life, to help you make sense of what's going on and encourage people is what I want to do. So this is the first of many. Like I said, I just wanted to kind of introduce this to you and, build from here. So if you found any value at all in what I'm saying, definitely tap in with me. Stay tuned. And I want to keep building this and bringing this content to you. But just remember, man, like, it's never too late for you. I don't care what they said to you. I don't care what you think. You need to change the way you think because it's never too late. I don't care what nobody say, man. You can say, you know what, tomorrow I got to get up and I'm going to start moving this way, or I'm going to start doing this. It could be working out more. It could be eating right. You know, if you've been eating bad all week and you say, man, tomorrow's the day I'm getting up and I'm gonna actually do it though, not just saying it, because a lot of us will say the things that we want to do, but then every day become that tomorrow, you know, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna get started. Next week I'm gonna get started. I ain't talking about that. I'm just saying really truly realizing that you want to make a change, whether you do it or not, just know it's possible. And maybe you realizing that it's actually possible is enough for you to say, you know what, let me get up and go do what I need to do to make a turnaround. And I think a lot of it has to do with us truly inside of us feeling like it is too late, and we counting ourselves out, and we starting to believe what we see on our timelines on social media. We start believing that, you know, it is the young crowd. You know what I'm saying? Me as a musician, a lot of people might see being a rapper after 30 is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, how can you still be doing that at that age? But again, it's about adjusting and being true to yourself. Me personally, I feel like making music for just my peers is valid. You know, I don't have to make quote unquote young music. And I'm not putting the age, nothing on any of that. You know, I'm going to touch on this in another video. But just to give you an example, it's like I'm putting out a project pretty soon and I'm well over 30. You know what I'm saying? I'm over 35. You know, I'm not going to put my age out there because I want to speak on that in another video to make another point. But just know I'm of age, grown man. I got a child. You know what I'm saying? I work a day job. I'm not the traditional rapper. You know what I'm saying? I'm not walking around. I'm not dissing nobody who moved that way, because, you know, I was once a young, you know, 21-year-old dude rapping, and I moved the way we moved at that time. That might have had people older than me feeling some type of way. But this is for the people who feel like, as an example with that, it's too late. And like I said, I'm going to have a whole separate video on this topic, but I do want to start off this whole thing by setting a tone and giving you an idea where I'm coming from. You could be any type of person. It don't have to be music. It could be sports. You know what I'm saying? You might have to adjust what that look like if you're in your 30s and wanting to make it to the NBA. Not saying it's not possible, because anything is possible. How much work you willing to put in? But to adjust your view and your vision, it could be you saying, okay, well, if I don't become a professional athlete, what else can I do within that to fulfill what it is that I truly love to do? Because I think ultimately the goal is to make a living off of something that you love to do and you passionate about, and not go do something that you don't care about just to make a paycheck. So that's you being mature and realizing like, okay, I can't go be a gymnast, you know what I'm saying, at 40 or whatever it is you might be wanting to do. But if that speaks to me, and right now I'm working for, you know, and I'm just saying anybody, you know, I'm working for whatever company and this ain't what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be somewhere in the building with something that I'm passionate about. And so when you have these conversations with yourself, you able to then make those adjustments and be true to yourself, man, and realize like, okay, it ain't completely over for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's things that I can still do within reason and still consider myself successful in something that I'm passionate about. So y'all get it, man. Again, I don't want to, you know, keep driving the point. I don't know what word I was about to say. It's like I was about to say hug or something. That's crazy. But I don't want to hold you. That's probably what I was going to say. I don't want to hold you. But I do want to make that point. So I think you guys get it for now. It's never too late for you. I'll probably do another video if something else come across my mind related to this topic. Not really tripping off structure like that. So we're going to end it for now, man, because I keep going. But I really, really want y'all to tap in and keep, you know, seeing where we go with this. So definitely like, comment, subscribe, and I'll holler at y'all, man. It's work.